school safety is not a political issue. I think when we look at what our legislature has done by allowing for a safety levy, whether you're Democrat or Republican, this is something that they all say is important and valuable.
Tonight, new details into yesterday's campus shooting at Big Sky High School in Missoula.
3 individuals are now in custody as persons of interest regarding an active shooter threat at Hellgate High School in Missoula.
Missoula police arrest the suspect involved in that shooting on the Sentinel High School campus.
The thing that keeps me up every single night, every single day, is a tragic event. And I think about it 24/7. It's a weight that I carry. You never know what's going to happen.
School violence can happen in any town, in any school district in America, and it has.
Safety is not just a big city issue, that these issues exist in our smallest communities and exist in communities like Missoula.
When you're speaking to teachers in terms of safety, you're going to hear that that's on their mind on a daily basis.
My number one job is to make sure that everyone's okay, that the students and staff are okay.
To those who don't think that safety is an issue, talk to your teachers, talk to your community.
Missoula has experienced some kind of near misses and some very credible threats. We've intercepted some pretty serious developments that ultimately never resulted in a tragedy, but it is not the time to become complacent in that just because it's never happened here or just because we're a smaller city, that it's not any less important.
You see in today's society, unfortunately, a lot of school violence. You see a lot of active shooter events, right? I grew up in Littleton, Colorado, so I saw Columbine unfold kind of in my backyard. I think it had an impact on my decision to enter law enforcement, honestly. And so the safety component is the number one priority.
The impact of our community of if there would be an act of violence in a school would be so widespread, because although you may not have a child in the school, I can expect that you may have a neighbor or a relative who has somebody who has some connection to that school. And the trauma and the fallout of a violent act like that, I think, would be something that a community would really have to, recover from.
Safety is both physical. We talk about camera systems and single point entries and our relationship with first responders and school resource officers, but there's also a proactive mental health aspect of safety that is indispensable.
They are being sold substances, anything from vapes to dab pens to marijuana to fentanyl. I do see it impacting our youth, and sadly I see it impacting a lot of families.
We absolutely have students who have been solicited for trafficking.
What they're exposed to is a scary thing. Things that we never, I think, would have ever dreamed or ever, it probably our worst nightmares of what we're seeing.
Last year, our lockdown was directly related to a social media threat with a firearm.
We're looking outside the windows and you could see just trucks roll up and armed men coming out of those trucks. Takes a toll on the mind.
Our mental health needs as a society have grown.
Since COVID, there's been definitely a lot more need for mental health support for our kids.
It goes far beyond the physical space, right? I think what I've seen as a change over the last 17 years is that it can also mean expanding access to mental health support for our children.
I'm one person in a classroom with 30 students. I'm trying to meet all of their needs, both academically and socially and emotionally. If I don't have a team behind me to help, things become unsafe.
My wife was a kindergarten teacher, and she would come home and she would say to me, I got 19 kids sitting on the carpet and I'm trying to teach them how to read, and I have this one student who's on a table yelling profanities.
Kicking other students. Sometimes they'll hit or kick me.
And we see this every day, and I just worry about what's to come if we don't have interventions now.
When I went to college, they didn't really teach you how to handle some of these more intense behaviors.
That's a little bit of what the behavior interventionist does, is to say, okay, we've got a student who's not regulated, who's not in a place where they're actually able to learn. And so we need to get them to a place where we can. Our
behavior interventionists, counselors, the whole student support team, we're constantly on we're putting out fires, but just as important, we have the opportunity to be proactive.
What you see in the news is the reactive side of things, but daily, there are people who intervene on behalf of kids. And safety isn't just about someone coming in and shooting up a school. Safety is about, we have threat assessments for kids who are suicidal. We have threat assessments for kids who are going into a home where they know it's an abusive situation and they don't have the resources or the means to get themselves out of those kind of things.
We do have opportunities to work with the Missoula Police Department with our school resource officers, and they're incredibly helpful, and we rely on them. It's a wonderful partnership that we have.
We have officers at each of our 3 high schools, and then we share 2 officers between our 9 elementaries and 3 middle schools.
They know the kids' names, they know the kids' families, they're a safe space for students, and I think it does a lot for all of us to help connect students to a positive law enforcement experience, and it allows us to have another preventative, positive adult in the building. Very little about this is reactive or scary. Our SROs are the most respected, kindest, responsible, kid-centered people who also know what to do in an emergency.
We're building relationships of trust between our community and our law enforcement, and to recognize that we're all really after the same goal, that we want safe, happy, protected, and productive children within our school buildings.
So I get to interact on a personal level, which is really something that a lot of cops don't get to do with this age demographic. I like to think that I kind of have the opportunity to bridge the gap between youth and law enforcement, right? Maybe on one end of the spectrum, they see law enforcement in the media, in the movies. Maybe they had a bad experience on a traffic stop or a domestic incident with their family. I get to show them a more personal side, right? I get to show them Officer Cameron, not just the badge and uniform.
In the recent past, our SROs have had an opportunity to intervene in a number of different incidents that either have mitigated or prevented a bigger issue. So on the extreme side of that, we've intervened when a student showed up on campus with a loaded firearm. Another example is that they've intervened when there's reports of conflict between children that may grow into either some type of a fight or altercation on or off the school property. And they can, prevent that from escalating to something worse.
I can think of multiple times in my career in which an SRO at the school prevented a larger tragedy.
If you don't feel safe in a space, it's awfully hard for you to focus and grow and make mistakes and feel comfortable.
Education starts with the school being a safe space for kids.
We are entrusted with our most valuable resource, day in, day out. And there's an expectation that we provide that not only physical safety, but emotional safety for our kids. And it takes a lot of people.
Passing this levy would mean preserving teacher jobs and also our support staff, which help students build their emotional and behavioral competencies and help all kids be successful.
So we're all tax tired, we're all fatigued, but we can't not do this.
What I tell people is that I am both an educator and a citizen. I don't love paying taxes, but I understand what I'm asking of our citizens. And me included. I am a Missoula taxpayer. And what I'm asking people to join me in helping keep our kids safe. And I'm also asking people to trust me and trust us to use that money wisely.